Hi. Welcome to my house. Sorry for the mess. Just got in last night. It's 1:30 in the morning. I would apologize for the seemingly persistent lateness, but I won't, because it is only during these after hours that my own thoughts become otherworldly yet coherent at the same time. At first, such combination of words may appear as opposites, and I would have agreed to an extent. And then I watched A Simple Favor. Released in 2018, A Simple Favor is a black comedy crime thriller based on a novel of the same name published the previous year. The movie begins in medias res from the protagonist, a widowed single mother named Stephanie Smothers, played by Anna Kendrick, providing a fifth-day update on the Emily situation. As the story is recounted, the viewer is transported back in time to the fateful day. Stephanie appears to be colorful and modest. With her vivid colored sweaters and her mommy vlog, she is quite literally the definition of a type A personality. After her son Miles asks to have a playdate with his friend Nikki, the audience is then introduced to the eventual antagonist and primary focus of the film, Emily Nelson. Played by Blake Lively, Emily is a contradictory, enigmatic argument to Stephanie's simple consensus of a life. Living in a grand, monochromatic lifestyle and an abundance of stylish outfits to match, she works a high-powered job in the city. Her husband, Sean, is an English professor and a failed writer. Two imperfect lives for two seemingly perfect women, just on the two extremes of the personality spectrum. With the sons beginning to hang out more, the two moms become increasingly close, spilling secrets with each other over glasses of martinis. Seems to be normal, right? Just two moms developing a friendship amidst that created between their sons, right? Well, that's wrong. Remember the secrets and the martinis, because they make a return. Emily calls Stephanie one day, briefly asking her for a simple favor. Take care of Nikki due to a work emergency, and Sean being in London at the time. She agrees, of course, and babysits him until 2 days had passed, and there were no signs of Emily. Stephanie, as the newfound loyal companion, goes to Emily's workplace to talk to her boss, who had claimed she was only in Miami. She didn't like that answer, though, and snuck through the building to get to Emily's office, in which under the desk there was a picture of her with the phrase, "Gotta have faith," written below. Word spreads about Emily's disappearance, especially with the help of her vlog. A tip comes in quick. The car that a woman who was thought to be Emily was driving was found by a lake in Michigan. The body of Emily had been found. Almost everyone grieved the loss of Emily. Emphasis on almost. Stephanie continued her God-given role of maintaining the household for Sean and Nikki, and eventually the two adults grew closer and eventually led into their own romantic relationship. After the police became involved, it was learned that Emily had a large quantity of alcohol and heroin in her body at the time of death. This was shocking news to Stephanie. Yes, Emily was a borderline alcoholic, but she never did heroin. It was also revealed in the time leading up to Emily's death that Sean had taken out $4 million life insurance on her. In the midst of the investigation, Stephanie begins to receive messages that finalize her belief about Emily still being alive. It starts off relatively innocuous. Nikki said that he had seen his mom, and that she says hi to Stephanie. But the messages quickly become dark. For example, she received another message through Nikki later from Emily. It was a picture with her husband, their son, and her half-brother Chris. This is where the spilling secrets comes into play. Stephanie and Chris were circled in the picture, with one word inscribed on the picture. And excuse my language, but this is what was written: brotherfucker. In that moment, the viewer watches as she recalls that her late husband suspected her infidelity, potentially causing the car crash that killed both him and her half-brother Chris. That does not stop her from going further in the investigation. In fact, it seems to be a catalyst. Stephanie meets Diana Hyland, for example, except Diana does not know an Emily. She knows Claudia, whom she describes as a con artist. Her information leads Stephanie to a yearbook that shows Emily to be the older version of a girl named Hope McCladen, who had an identical twin named Faith McCladen. Stephanie visits the mother of the twins. She tells a story that at the age of 16, the twins had set fire to that family house and proceeded to vanish from existence. Stephanie later contrives a plan to meet with Emily at the grave of Faith McCladen, and as they sip a round of martinis, Emily explains firsthand her own dark secret that she had been keeping. She and her twin sister indeed started the fire to kill their abusive father. The sister had planned to reunite later, but she never turned up as agreed. Emily then built a career for herself in the city and eventually started a family, but 14 years later, Faith suddenly reappeared. Now an alcoholic and heroin addict, Faith threatened to turn both of them into the authorities by confessing the patricide unless they paid her $1 million. After assenting to the demand, Emily drowned Faith in the lake, as revealed to the movie audience. But as Emily tells Stephanie the story, she claims that Faith had committed suicide and that Sean simply planned the insurance scam. Emily and Stephanie are both angered at this point by Sean's relationship with the other and decided to frame Sean for abusing Emily. He's arrested but is soon released on bail. Stephanie has a change of heart and stages an argument with Sean in front of Emily with the intent of incriminating her using police-planted microphones that would record the confrontation. Stephanie fake shoots Sean and Emily believes it, but she knew. She does, in fact, confess her crimes, knowing that she had disabled the microphone. Her new plan is to stage the pair as a murder-suicide. Shooting Sean in the shoulder for real this time, she turns the pistol on Stephanie. In a weird, humorous state of conversation between the two about if they are truly each other's best friend and that they're not just saying they are, Stephanie points out that the vlog has only grown since the Emily situation began, and it would be even bigger if Emily went on the show and confessed her crimes. When Emily found the point to be quite incredulous, Stephanie reveals that a hidden camera in her sweatshirt, like right here, was live streaming the entire affair on the vlog. Emily attempted to escape, only to be hit by a car, Mean Girl style. Now for the analysis. Detection within this film can be somewhat difficult to dissect due to various factors. The style of the movie, for example, with the editing and the scene placements, affects not only when, but how a piece of evidence is revealed to the audience. Additionally, there are elements of dramatic irony, in which the viewer holds more insight than the detective-like figure does, such as described when Emily tells Stephanie about the suicide of the twin, or even one character knowing more than the literal police-aligned detective character. Most importantly, however, is the character, the protagonist of Stephanie, who seems to play every angle in the film as the main detective figure. Originally, she is the innocent mom, almost in an infantilized way, whose husband and brother, former lover, recently died in a car crash. In the end, she seems to accept her dark past and the longing darkness she currently has, and she utilizes it and the sort of impromptu lessons given by Emily about never apologizing to find out the truth about what had actually happened to her. Both sides to Stephanie allow her to access different evidence depending on the context. Want to pull information from the police? Be a young woman who's worried sick about her missing friend. Want to get away with technically breaking into a building and offices of a multinational corporation? Be a strong, confident woman who not only doesn't apologize for her misfortunes, but could only list every insecurity you have in alphabetical order. No matter who she comes into contact with or how she comes into contact with the evidence, she's able to decipher the next step and quickly deduce the solution. I feel as though it is important to point out that there are many crimes committed in the 2 hours of that film, leaving more mysteries than solving them. Yet every crime is very fitting for the period that it was made, as well as the period it was made to be in. For instance, there is arson by teenagers due to domestic abuse, attempted insurance fraud, some sort of assault or attempted homicide with a deadly weapon, the actual homicide, and the briefly mentioned drug use, if you want to count that. The whole scheme seems to be centered around money and the failed insurance fraud in the end, at least if we exclude the probable insanity of Emily at this point. In addition to the fact that it aided in solving the case, the concept of a vlog being the ultimate tool for catching somebody to admit their crimes is the most modern thing I've ever heard. In fact, at the end of the movie, it is revealed that Stephanie begins to use her vlog as a sort of true crime platform, which eventually puts away, I believe they said 30 criminals in the end credits. This movie definitely begins to challenge the ideas that we have learned about the past few months. For example, the differences concerning the role of women in murder mystery literature and movies. We have seen figures such as Miss Stapleton from The Hound of the Baskervilles and Caroline from The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, who play minute roles, usually for the assistance of the good guys in their respective stories. Female characters are typically forced to the background as petite, pure girls who need protection from the evil of humanity. What happens then when they are the ones who are forcing others to find that protection? In a simple favor, it can be argued that such people are women, and that there are more than one femme fatales. There's Emily, the original mastermind, and Stephanie, the allegedly corrupted and considerable student. Emily is anything but helpless. Her horrific backstory shaped her into an individual that is independent to a fault. She will hurt anyone who prevents her from achieving her goals. Dad, her estranged sister, her husband. Does that mean for a female to be driven to crime, they have to be emotional as bitches? According to the same movie, the simple answer is no. Stephanie, in comparison to Emily, is also not afraid of lying and scheming to get what she wants, although for her it is, at least in its original nature, the truth. She started this journey with the updates on the vlog because she cared for Emily. She truly viewed her as a friend. She was a fellow mom with a considerably dark past and finally had such a person that she could relate to. She was the only other outcast of a parent at the school who were both collectively hated by the PTA moms. She simply just wanted to find her so that she wouldn't be lonely again, no matter what it cost. In the end, both women, from an outside perspective, were vastly different from the other. Bright and dull, day and night, modest and rich. But ultimately, both are mere facades attempting to hide the same problem of their dark histories. And in the famous words of Emily Nelson,
"Oh, we can't. Mommy already has a play date with a symphony of antidepressants."
It's been a great one.